I don't see any difference except for habits and mindset from very successful people from unsuccessful people.
Welcome everyone to Real Estate Investment Club. This is another session of real estate investment. And thank you for joining us. My name is Ashton Ekbatani. I'm a real estate investor, coach, and author of many books. And I am the host of Wednesday Real Estate Investment webinar, where we are meeting with real estate investors. The goal and reason for this real estate investment webinar here is to help you move from wherever you are. It doesn't matter you are just a beginner, or you have experience in real estate investment, to where I call it savvy investors. And once you get to that point, you are in a shape that nothing would really shake you in terms of understanding real estate investment and saving and making money in this field. So the goal here is to make sure you're not coming up with assumptions of what to do next, or hoping or wishing or guessing how to make your wealth. So you have to have a clear idea of what you're doing and what you have ahead of time. So real estate investment webinar, every Wednesday, we invite savvy investors that are expert in different fields of real estate investment. And as you know, it is not one way of making money in this field. You have fixer-uppers, we have multiplexes, we have people who are investing in US market. There are different strategies such as BRRRR, which is buy, renovate, rent, refinance, and repeat the same thing. Startups, buy and hold, private selling, and flipping, and so on and so on. So if you come on the website that we have, you can see all of this that is recorded, and they are actually sitting on YouTube. Now, we're not only talking about earning money here. The goal and reason for real estate investment is to build wealth so you can achieve and you can reach your dreams. And we're using real estate as a tool, a vehicle for you to achieve that degree and become free. And therefore you can live the life that you're always dreaming. You can have access to my YouTube channel, Ashton Ekbatani. There are plenty of information and sessions and useful tips and hints in terms of buying real estate investment. And you go there and subscribe, please. I also wrote a few books. One of them is Successful Real Estate Investors, where I'm sharing with you all the strategies that I use to purchase properties and what is the best way to do that, to not fall into the pitfalls that many beginners they might do. And you can get that in Amazon.ca or Amazon.com, they're all there. Usually every Wednesday, I come up with housing market information, what's happening. I shared this information last week, and there is a link into YouTube if you go there. It's about GTA market, what's happening, what's going on, what's happening in 2020, and what you should expect in 2021. Just briefly in one word, the market is extremely hot. Today, we are going to learn the secret of success, not only in real estate, but in life. See, what you carry in real life, you can also carry it into real estate as well. So if you're successful in life, you will be successful in real estate. So I'm Robert Riopel. He's sharing some of the secrets that help him to achieve the financial freedom at early age. And I'm sure some of this principle you can also use in real estate to help you there too. So I met Robert a few years ago. As you can see in the picture down, that is my wife, Shohreh, and Robert is there. And amazing things with Robert here is on the stage, you see this guy. He is amazing. He's full of power. He's standing up there and share with you everything he knows. And then you say, wow, I just go and handshake with Robert, see what's going to happen. He comes down the stage and you go to him and you shake hands. You see a very humble, down-to-earth, a great man that comes to same level as you and talk to you freely. And that's where you can understand who Robert is. He's he's an international speaker, author, and entrepreneurial, transformational. He's in the business of changing life, put it this way. And he has years of experience. And I want you to meet Robert. And without I'm sorry, I'm just trying to handle the upcoming number of people to the webinar. It's just crowded here. And without any further ado, I want to bring up Robert. And Robert, are you here?
I am here, and can you hear me all right?
Okay, so what I'm going to do, I'm going to share my screen with you. Are you coming up with your PowerPoint?
Yeah, I will bring my PowerPoint on in a quick moment.
Okay.
And so if you've got me able to share my screen, that would be awesome.
Okay.
So you'll have to make me co-host for that.
Yeah.
And, thank you for that great introduction, because you're right. I love to assist people, and especially when it comes to not only creating wealth, but how to keep it. And so what we're going to do tonight is I'm not going to just teach you about mindset, but I am going to tie it in to how it works with real estate, how you can utilize it. A little bit more of my background is I do actually have some real estate investments. I like to do things like second mortgages, where I become the bank for the second mortgages. I also have, my wife and I have invested in raw land in another country. So we have that as well, which is investments that we do. So we have a lot of fun with it. And so tonight, the two things I want to cover with you, the first thing is called the 4 currencies. And this applies to all people's lives. And again, one of the things I want you to kind of understand, and Ashton, when you were talking about how when I come off stage and I love to connect with people, that's absolutely true. And you're going to understand why in a moment as I explain one of the currencies. But here's my big thing. With that great introduction, please don't think I am any better than anybody else on this planet. I'm a person that I've gone through my ups, I've gone through my downs. Just like anybody that's watching this, I'm sure you've gone through your ups and downs. And for me, when I give you trainings, I want you to know it's coming from my experience, what worked for me, what I've seen, what I've observed of other successful people around the world for the last 18 years of being blessed to travel around the world, impacting hundreds of thousands of lives. So just because I'm the presenter, it does not mean I'm any better than anybody else. Is it possible I have different knowledge than you have on my expertise? Absolutely. But in the same way, isn't it possible each and every one of you has different information I don't have? See, that's what I want you to understand. And so tonight, and I'm glad that we're doing this live broadcast right at the beginning of the year, Ashton, is because going into this year with what 2020 has done for people, a lot of people are going, okay, we're down, or is it going to bounce back? Can we do investing? Am I going to still have a job? So what a great way to start the year by allowing me to help you kind of focus yourself, center yourself, so that the decisions you make benefit you and your family. Because let me be very clear, ladies and gentlemen, before I understood this information, my kind of investing was, if it sounded good, I'd throw money at it, and then I'd get upset that I lost a lot of money because I didn't take the time to learn the skills. But one side is the skills. The other side is the mindset, because your mind will either work with you or it'll try and sabotage you. And I'm sure a lot of you can kind of relate with that. Now, Ashton, it's going to be a little different tonight because I'm used to just being interactive and having people type in, and I use breakout rooms. But I'm going to just give you the sheer download from my mind to yours. And the good thing is I'm a little aerodynamic. That means I don't have any hair to get in the way of letting my mind get out to you, so we can download as much for you as possible. You'll also notice as we go through the presentation, I like to have fun. I believe that there are way too many serious people on this planet. And for me, life is too short not to have fun. People have asked me before, they said, Robert, don't you take anything serious? And I say, yes, I take having fun seriously. with my success. So let me go through the first thing of the 4 currencies. Because once we go through that and you have an understanding of that, then I'm going to show you how in your investing mind, especially with what you want to do with real estate, whatever area of real estate you may be interested in, how you can become a vital investor, and you can become vital in your life, your investing life, all areas of your life. So if you're ready to get going, Ashton, I'm ready to rock and roll, and let's hop to this. The first currency we want to talk about is the one that most people think about, and that's the currency of money. And what people don't realize is that too much money, it has a name, it's called affluenza. And too much money, if you've ever noticed, people do crazy things if they have too much money. Too little money is called poverty. And so one of the things I love to teach people is that every single person, everybody that's listening to this, watching this right now, every one of your family members, every one of your friends, everybody on this planet, we actually have a level in us that is the right amount for us. If we go above it, we start doing crazy things. If we go below it, we get stressed out beyond belief. And I'll give you an example of what I would call affluenza. I like to fly. I love to fly. And I remember a few years ago watching the documentary as they were building the first A380s. That's a 2-level airplane. And they're going through, and I love to find the ins and outs and understand why the technology, how it works. And they started putting these planes into service in all the different airlines around the world. And it was about a year and a half in, I read a story about someone, a prince or someone in the United Arab Emirates, that decided that they wanted their own private A380. And so they ended up paying over $1 billion to have this one airplane for themselves. And they didn't want it for business, they wanted it as a party plane. So they ended up spending another $100 million to renovate the whole plane to be their party, 2 stories of party to fly. See, that to me is an example. I can think, and I don't know about you, but I can think of a lot better things to do with $1.2 billion than to just have an airplane. See, that's kind of an indicator. And when people understand currencies, you're going to notice, because the question people come up with is, well, Robert, I'm a real estate investor, and my goal is to create wealth. My goal is to create security for not just my generation, but generations to come. How do I know if I'm trying to get too much money? Well, you're going to notice it. You're going to feel it. You're going to see that you start doing things that lose money. You're going to see that, you seem to hit a certain level where if you're in that level, you're doing great, things go smooth, but all of a sudden you try to make more, or you say, I'm going to go for the big score, and you wonder why maybe it falls apart. So it's a kind of a game of just noticing. I have friends that the more money they can get, the more money they want. And that's in alignment with who they are. For me, I like to have a very comfortable life, which I do. I like to know that my generation and investments, I never have to work again, but I don't feel the need to have extra millions of dollars. I hope that makes sense. So that's just the first currency. The second currency that we talk about is a currency of time. And this is a currency that everybody has the exact same amount of. There's only 24 hours in the day. If you have too much time on your hands, it's called boredom. And I don't know about you, but when, prior to what I call BC, before COVID, I would, on average, fly 200,000 miles a year around the world doing trainings. But even with all that flying, I still have 6 months a year to be at home. Because for me, having time with my family is very, very important. I've learned what it is to, take too much time trying to create business and not creating business at all. Both ends of the spectrum had dire consequences for me. So I chose to balance out my time a little bit more so I can still live my passion, impact lives around the world, but I still have lots of time at home. See, I've been blessed. I haven't had to work for money for 20 years now. And so I love to dictate how my time is used. And so it kind of blew me away when COVID-19 came along, and I would hear people going, I'm bored. I'm bored. There's nothing to do. I can't leave my home. I'm actually busier today because I'm doing connections with people than when I'm flying halfway around the world. So too much time on your hands is called boredom. Too little time creates stress. And so when it comes to your real estate investing, you want to take your time and you want to make sure that maybe instead of trying to learn everything at once, that might stress you out, is you could do things where you say, you know what, this 2-hour block today, I'm going to use it to just study, maybe have, get on a webinar, do some learning to take my level of real estate understanding up another notch. Because if you try to do too much, then you're going to sabotage and not do any. See, I know I'm a procrastinator. And because I realize I'm a procrastinator, I'll design my day in such a way that procrastination has no room to play. And what that means is, because I don't have to work, I could just sleep in. And my mind, because it is procrastination mind, it would let me, it would want me to, it would try and tell me to. So I, on purpose, schedule a lot of my meetings for early in the morning so that I have to get up and then I get my day started. And so you could do that where you design your day where you're up and then maybe you say, you know what, I'm going to take 1 hour here to learn about real estate, or I'm going to take this hour to check on my real estate investments. I'm going to take this one to finish that deal. So you learn to budget your time just like you'd budget money, because time is a currency that, again, we all have the same amount on. And Ashton, what I'm going to encourage for you is, as I'm going through things, if something hits you that you have a question or you're looking for clarity, please feel free to just say, hey, Robert, I want to jump in, because I want to make sure we give as much value to your watchers and your listeners as we can.
I appreciate that. And we can always send us a chat message and I can either share it or we're going to read it together.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, and as people, if they do have questions as I'm going through this, I encourage you to write them down, send them through the chat, get them to Ashton so that he can then send it to me and we can get your questions answered. So that's the second currency, is the currency of time. The third currency, this one is fame. You've heard of people wanting their 15 minutes of fame. A lot of times in investing, people want more money because they think it'll make them more popular and they'll have more fame. And fame is a tricky one. Because again, if you've watched over the years, decades, centuries, fame, too much fame, has ruined a lot of lives. And when people have too little fame that they feel, they want to do some crazy stuff to try to get famous. I don't remember if you remember when the days of the TV show Jackass was out, where these guys just started doing crazy stunts that hurt, that got people to laugh, and it made them famous. To me, I couldn't even consider doing something like that. I don't want fame that much. But what happens with fame is, as you start investing, you start making money, you're going to notice you become more popular. You're going to notice people want to be around you more. Some will just want knowledge. Some will just want to be around you. Some will be going, how can I get them to maybe spend some of their money on me? And when it comes to fame, I loved an interview that was done with Jennifer Lopez one time. Because someone asked her, they said, Jennifer, how is it that you seem to handle your fame so well, that you seem very, very balanced in your business life and your personal life? And her answer really resonated with me, because what she said is, she said, when I'm on stage, when I'm singing, when I'm doing a movie, when I'm doing a guest appearance, I'm J-Lo. That's who I am. When I'm at home, I'm Jennifer Lopez. To my family, I'm just plain Jennifer Lopez. And I resonated with that because, for me, as an example, I've been blessed to travel all over the world in front of hundreds and thousands of students at a time for 3-day very intensive programs, 5-day intensive programs, where I spend up to 12 hours a day on stage. And so when I'm out and I'm doing a training or I'm doing a talk, I am Robert Raymond Riopel. And especially when I travel around the world, I've got staff and I've got assistants that take care of everything I need. I get pampered. I get taken care of so well. But when I come home, I'm just Robert or Rob. See, that's me being at home. And my wife, she assists me in staying very, very grounded, because our running joke is when I get home, she says, honey, you're back home. You got no more assistants taking care of you. Go take out the garbage. And I love that because that keeps me grounded. When you start doing and becoming very successful in real estate, ego will kick in. And it's not that you're going to not go through it. The question is, how quickly can you handle it? How quickly can you deal with it? Because again, ego can then turn around and wipe you out. One bad investment, because you get into ego, can take you out. That's why, things like investing in real estate, any kind of investing, I'm all about learning the systems. Follow the systems. Take the ego, take the emotion out of it. This is why it's key to find people, mentors, to follow, people that have proven systems. If you do not have every single one of Ashton's books, you need to get them. If you're not already following him and being coached on how to do it and be successful, I would recommend you do that. Why reinvent the wheel when someone's already doing it and can show you step by step by step by step? So fame, that's the third currency. Now, the fourth currency is the one I really like to focus on, because this currency here is all about experience. See, I believe that we were meant to experience life. Why do you want more money in your life? It'll allow you to have greater experiences with less stress. Why would you like your real estate to do well? Because of the lifestyle it can give you. That's what you want to look at, is what are the experiences that you can bring to your life? So because I've been for over 18 years traveling around the world helping people, anytime I do a training, I want to make sure it's very experiential. Last year, just before COVID hit, I started my year off by having an experiential mastermind. 7 of my students, we flew from all over North America, and actually one woman came from Brazil. We met in Florida. The 8 of us hopped on a private jet, flew to the Bahamas, spent the entire day networking in this beautiful resort on the beach. And we were masterminding and creating $1 million businesses right there with each other. That night we flew back, experiential. So my choice now is when people say, Robert, I want you to do this, or I'd like to do business with you here, I look at what is going to be the experience of that relationship. Because I don't do anything, and this is going to be a kind of a success mindset clue, as I love to give people clues for each and every one of you. If you're doing real estate just for the money, I'm going to tell you you're doing it for the wrong reason. You see, because if you're doing it just for the money, your mind will not allow you to be as successful as you can. It will sabotage you. But if you're doing it for a reason like the lifestyle it can provide you and your family, the security it can provide. And I know some of you are going, well, Robert, isn't that the same as doing it for money? No. Money is just because maybe you got coming from a fear base and thinking the more money I have, the better my life will be. And I'm going to go a little deeper on this. More money will make you more of who you already are. So if you're a fearful person around money, having more money is going to bring more fear into your life. And you'll find yourself spiraling down that you'll never have enough. And again, that will end up sabotaging your success. You don't have to take my word for this, ladies and gentlemen. I'm just coming from the experience I've watched of millionaires, billionaires, the ones that are successful consistently. What are they doing different than the ones that have the up and down roller coasters? And that's the experience I'm bringing to you. I worked with some of the top real estate investors around the globe. And that's why, even though I don't do, my big part of my investing is not in real estate, and I'm not doing a lot of active real estate, I'm around so many real estate people that I have a great understanding of how it works. And that's why I focus on that mindset. So ask yourself, what is the experience that you would like this to provide for you? Now, that's just a short dive into the 4 currencies and why they're important. And I wanted to give that to you before we go on to the next piece. And before I do, is there any questions that you have for me, Ashton, that has come up for you or anybody has typed in?
I should have a lot of questions for you, but I'll let you go. Since you finished with the four currency at this point, right?
Yes, absolutely.
Let me ask you a big question here, and then you can continue. We know that, as I read, you started from minus 150, and by age 32, you got to financial freedom. Can you tell us the story a little bit?
Yeah, absolutely. So when one of the things I was taught growing up is I come from rural Alberta, where I live again now. And growing up, I was taught two things: work hard and stay loyal to a company. Because when you start working, if you do those two things, that company will take care of you. Now, of course, we know that's not true in today's day and age, but that's what I was taught to do, so that's what I did. And actually, by the time I was 21 years of age, I'd worked for 3 different companies. Now, if I was working hard and I was staying loyal, why is it I'd worked for 3 companies by the time I was 21? Well, I'd been laid off, I'd been downsized, companies had shut, whatever it was. And at the time, I wasn't very happy. I was very upset. But actually, looking back, I learned one of the greatest lessons I could have learned at that age. And that is, if I wanted any kind of success, I had to take care of myself. I had to be at the steering wheel of my own success. And here in Alberta, we have a lot of oil. And if the oil prices are up, our economy does phenomenal. But if the oil prices are down, our economy doesn't do well at all. And so in 1989, when I'm laid off from that 3rd company, we're in the middle of an oil bust and I can't find work. So to provide for my family, because I'm newly married, I decided to start delivering pizzas to make some money. And from going to being a pizza delivery for Domino's Pizza, a few months later, I was able to become a manager of a store in Calgary, Alberta. I moved to do that. And then just over a year later, my wife and I ended up becoming franchisees. Now, what's interesting about that is when we wanted to become franchisees, we didn't have any money. But one thing I do have that serves me well is I have passion. If there's something I want to learn and do, I'm going to find a way to do it. And so by studying and asking questions and listen, making mistakes, we were able to end up buying the 2 stores my franchisee owned, and we did it with no money of our own, and we became franchisees. And we thought we had it made. And we were franchisees for 9 years. But my mindset, and this is why I'm passionate about mindset, we started making more money with our Domino's pizzas. But the moment we started making more money, we actually started spending more money. And by the time we were franchisees for 8 years, we were over $150,000 in debt and going down very quickly. And that's when I was introduced to personal development and a different mindset around my wealth belief. And I did a 3-day program. You saw it actually, a picture of me when you were introducing me, Millionaire Mind Intensive. My wife and I walked into that training over $150,000 in debt. In 3 days, it radically turned around how we looked at money, how we attracted money, understanding why we spent it the way we did. And we were actually able to take that learning, apply it. This is why having mentors is so important. Figuring it out on our own, it would not have worked. But because we followed someone's system, we were able to go from being over $150,000 in debt to being retired completely, financially free 9 months later at the age of 32. And that's when my mind went, wow, that worked. And if this much lesson gave me this result, what would more learning be? And I became an avid student. And during the next 2.5 years, that's when I found my passion was to teach. Because here was my why. Why am I a trainer today? Is because I believe that if I could help even one person do what my wife and I had been able to do, go from financial stress and struggle to being completely financially free, if I could help even one person do that, it would be all worthwhile. And from my journey, I've spent the last 18 years traveling around the world, personally taught over 500,000 people how to create financial freedom in their life by working with their mindset. And so that's kind of how the journey went. And I feel blessed to be able to do what I love. And I love to draw out of people what their passion is and use vehicles like real estate to create the wealth so they can actually live their passion without having to think about going to work or I have to do this to make money. So does that answer the question for you?
Yes, and I have a bad news for you, Robert. I know you for some times, but I just realized that I dig into a gold mine here. So the bad news here, I'm going to keep you on talk for next few hours. So that was about. But beside this, Robert is an amazing coach. He's very caring, and he can work with your mind because, after all, this is the first engine of your existence of your life. So if you think small, you will be a small. If you think big, you will be. But what I realize also, that goes back to real estate, but that can apply to anything. There are three components, and help me here, Robert, that we all need. Number one is your desire. What do you want from life? Where do you want to go? Number two is your plan. What are you doing to get there? Do you have the tools? Do you have the right timing? And the third one is action. And action can be in three sections. Action can have the learning curve by itself. Action doesn't mean you jump into the market, do whatever you think you have to do. So you have to allow sometimes to learn. And that's part of the action. Associate with like-minded people and learn from them. Also, you have to make your team. So mostly talking about real estate, even the stock market, doesn't matter. It's good to have your team. Talking about real estate, it's good to have your real estate agent, your lawyer, your home inspector, your mortgage broker. This is your team. So you have to be very selective in what you do in that aspect.
Totally agree.
And the last part of action is just jump into the pool and start swimming. And these are the three things that I think anyone needs, not only in real estate, but any kind of investment you do. So Robert, go on with your teaching.
Yeah, and look, I totally agree with you on all those, because I tell people when you work on your business, three things that you do during that time: either learn, do it, or create. And so it goes right along with the actions, because what stops most people is they never do it. And again, this is why it's so important to have great mentors in your life. Even if you can't mentor from them personally, some of the greatest mentors have passed on. But what did they leave as a legacy? Do they have books? Do they have trainings? Do they have things that you can study? If you can have a mentor hold you hand, take you by the hand, you will reduce your learning curve exponentially, because they'll be able to show you what's working, what's not working. Part of our journey was the last year that we were in Domino's Pizza. Our specialty was we did a partnership with a franchisee that had a lot of stores, and some of his stores, because he couldn't oversee them all, they would start having trouble. They'd get close to bankruptcy, or he would take over a store that had gone bankrupt. And my wife and I, we would walk in. We would be able to, within 3 months, walk into the store, totally change it around, have a whole new staff or retrain the existing staff, and within 3 months walk out of the store with the sales and the profits going up by over 100% each week. And people go, how did you do that? And what it was is, the reasons the stores were in trouble is whoever was managing it decided to try and do it differently, instead of following the system that Tom Monahan had created for Domino's Pizza. So we'd simply go in, cut out all the crap, put it back to the system that works, train the store on the system and the staff, and know we could walk out, because if they followed the system, they'd do well. Exact same thing in real estate. We're conditioned to try and figure it out on our own. But what you said is perfect. Surround yourself with an amazing team. You have to have the right people in place, because people say, well, does that mean I can never be successful on my own? Absolutely. Actually, you can. You absolutely can be successful, but it's going to be harder. It's going to take you longer, and it's going to be a lot more stressful than if you are willing to say, you know what, I'm good at this, but I'm not good at that and that and that. So that's where I hire a great team, or align myself with a great team. So I'm glad you brought that part up, because when we go from the four currencies, then the next thing we want to understand is what I call the authority master key. And what is a master key? It is a key that can unlock any door. And so when we talk about with real estate, to have the real master key, what I'd love everybody, if you're taking notes, and I'm hoping you are, is I want you to write down the word vital. But I don't want you to write it horizontally. I want you to write it down vertically, because I use this as an acronym. This is how you can be vital in your business, vital in your life, vital in your relationships, vital in your investing. Each of these words will walk you step by step through. So the V in vital, what it stands for, as we unlock this master key, is it stands for virtuoso. Virtuoso. And now the definition is a person who has special knowledge or skill in a field. Now what that means is, one of my favorite quotes from one of my favorite books, Secrets of the Millionaire Mind, by one of my mentors, T.R. Becker. My favorite quote is, every master was once a disaster. See, when you get into real estate, some of you that are listening or watching may already be experts in doing well. And if you are, I want you to remember back to when you started. Were you always as good as you are now? Or did you have some fumbles, some mistakes? For those of you that are thinking of getting into real estate, you're going to go through some turbulent times as you learn. So why being a virtuoso is important? It means you're willing to get started wherever you can. Some people say, well, I want to do real estate, but I can't afford to buy a great course, or I can't afford to do this. Well, then ask yourself, why do you need to start at the top? Where can you get in to learn, to observe, to watch, to start building your knowledge as you start creating some money to start your first real estate investment? When I look back at my life, people go, Robert, what do you think one of the keys to your success is? And I looked back all the way to when I was a kid. In Canada here, we have what's called the cadet organization. There's Air Cadets, Sea Cadets, and Army Cadets. And at the age of 10, I joined a younger age of Sea Cadets called Navy League. And when you start in, you don't start as the chief. You don't start at the top. I started as an ordinary cadet. And I worked my way up by learning, going through the system, I became the chief. But as soon as I aged out, and at age 13, I had to go from Navy League to the Sea Cadets, which is the older version. Even though I was a chief petty officer, I didn't get to take that rank into Sea Cadets. And so think about how many people, maybe they've done well in business, but they're getting into real estate, and they expect that if I'm good here, I automatically need to start at a higher level in my real estate investing. Just jump in and start learning wherever you can. See, for me, I've been successful because no matter what I want to learn, I don't care if I'm scrubbing toilets to be around a person I can learn. I don't care if I have to be their personal assistant. How did I become a trainer? For 2.5 years, I volunteered at 30 to 35 trainings a year at my own expense, just so I could listen, model, watch, instead of having to pay for an expensive mentor. So virtuoso, you're willing to jump in anywhere. And if you're willing to start and just start learning, watch what that does for you. The I of vital stands for imprint. Imprint. And the definition of that is to make an impression, have an effect. So again, when it comes to your real estate investing, this is why it's important to have your start connecting with house inspectors, mortgage lenders, lawyers that specialize, other real estate investors, maybe so you can have, a get together for a real estate investment club. So you start making an imprint so that people know that, hey, you're serious about this. And as you make, and you're there, and you come from the space of you want to grow, but you want to be of assistance. And I'm going to give you a statement, and I want you to write this down if you're doing notes. Givers gain. Givers gain. And what that means simply is you don't try and approach people, especially when you're learning, for the what can I get out of it? You go there to be of service. So for 2.5 years, I volunteered, and I was there at 100% giving, being of service. And because I was doing that, one day my life changed. And Ashton, this is why I say it's amazing how 5 minutes can change your life. Because people always ask me, how did I become the very first protege of T. Harv Eker? How did I then get on and be the very first person to ever teach one of his trainings other than him? How did I go on to start training people all around the world, thousands of trainers, impacting hundreds of thousands of lives? It started with 5 minutes. Back in 2002, I was at a training, volunteering, and all of a sudden T. Harv Eker pulls me in a vehicle and he says, well, are you ready? And I said, Am I ready for what? He says, I need you to take 5 minutes and finish things off tonight from our guest speaker. I'm writing a new program. I'll tell you what to say. If you can go out and take the 5 minutes, give everybody their instructions, send them off to bed, that'd be great. I was terrified, but I did it, and that 5 minutes changed my life and put me on a world stage. And it wasn't until years later, when I'm now great friends with him, and we're sitting down having dinner one night, and he asked me a question. He says, do you know why I put you on stage that first time? And I had no idea. I said, why? He says, because I'm standing on stage, we're at a break. I'm trying to talk to an audience member, and you're running a meeting off to the side. And your presence was so powerful, I couldn't focus on the student. I kept looking over to you. And in that moment, I knew I had to have you on my stage to help me out. I had imprinted on him that I was there of service. No ego, no what am I getting out of it? And because of that, he had seen me around, he started to get to know me, and that day he made the decision he would put me on stage. So in your real estate, who are you making an imprint on by being of service? That's what I'm going to ask you, because that can change your financial life right there. You want to attract the greatest minds for investing and the greatest partners for investing, then be a person that is a giver of information, giver of your time, giver, contribute. So that's the second part of how you become vital. The third, the T, stands for tractable. Tractable. And what that means is easily worked, shaped, or otherwise handled, malleable. This is one of the biggest things. And I'm going to come from my experience of training trainers, because I don't train real estate agents, but I'm going to, ask for input from my great host to see if he can resonate with what I'm talking about. When you're successful, people will want you to coach them or mentor them. And when I have a trainer with 18 years of experience, I know what works, what doesn't work. And the ones that I love to work with, I don't care how new they are, but if they let me show them and they follow the system, they're malleable. Those are the ones I love working with. Because on the other side, I have people who come in who I know this. I've done training. I'm good at this already. Have you seen that in your real estate investing when you're coaching people at all, Ashton? Have you had people that come in that are so stuck in their ways that it's frustrating?
It is, and I'm frustrated because I try to help. Something's blocking me. Listen, if you want to be where I am, then why you come to me and closing the door? Open up and let's have a conversation. Maybe I have some experience that would help you, or if you come with a closed mind. So what do you do here?
Exactly. And so I actually, because one of my things is I'm one of my passions is helping trainers become more authentic on stage, being more present on stage, being more connected. And so I do some very high-end mentoring. I usually take on 2 or 3 mentors a year, or mentees a year, that's it, because I charge a lot of money and I want to make sure I give them value. But we make an agreement, and this is something you might add to your agreements if you're mentoring people, is I'm very upfront with them. I say, look, when we're working, we're going to come to a point where you don't think you need me anymore, that you know enough and you're going to want to do it your way. At that point, when I sense that, our mentorship is done. No hard feelings, no angry about it. It's just done, because if I can only teach you to the point where you're willing to keep listening. But if you need to try it your way, at that point, we'll just step back and go do it your way. And it's amazing how many of them, because it comes to a point, I call it star-struck stage. When we go back to the fame from the 4 currencies, they get to a point when they're on stage now, they're having some success, and all of a sudden they're like, everybody loves me. Look at me. And it's not that they won't go through it, it's how quickly can they get through it. And so I'll tell them at that point, you're on your own, because you're not malleable anymore. You think you know it all. And it's amazing how many of them, some within weeks, months, or even a few years later, all of a sudden they're coming back to me going, wow, Robert, I get it now. And in real estate, I guarantee you have that. The people that are hungry, they're beginning, oh, I'll do whatever you show me to do. But then they get a couple successes and their mind goes, I don't need that anymore. I'll now do it my way. That's the key, is you've got to be tractable, ladies and gentlemen. Allow that mentor who's made the mistake, the one who's teaching you. This is why you only ever want to learn from people who've had more success than you. This is why I choose not to listen to broke people. Because why would I learn something from someone who I've been more successful in an arena I'm trying to learn than they are? So that's very important that you choose your mentors wisely. And then when you go into a mentoring relationship, be very tractable and watch your success come so much easier. I hope you guys are learning. I hope you're finding this valuable.
It's amazing, Robert. I beyond everything that we are learning, the passion you have here to help is unbelievable. Go on.
Yeah, thank you. Well, and it comes down to the A, attitude. You know, the manner or disposition with regard to a person. You have, in my opinion, you have to have an attitude of gratitude. I am grateful for every experience I have. I wake up in the morning, and one of my rituals that it was taught to me by a dear friend, I nicknamed him the quantum monk, because not only does he study quantum physics and he's brilliant, but he was actually a monk for 8 years, over 15,000 hours of meditation. So he can teach you all about spirituality, and then he backs it up with quantum physics. And I love what he says. He says, when he wakes up in the morning, he takes the first 5 minutes of being conscious that he's awake. He'll sit on the side of the bed and he'll take in a deep breath and he'll visualize, what will a perfect day look like for me today? And that's how he starts his day. It allows him to set his attitude of abundance, happiness. How many people wake up and their first thought in their mind is like, oh, today is going to be a crappy day. And because that's the way they start the day, they tend to have more crap coming in. And this is something that was taught to me by my mom when I was growing up as a child. And again, it comes to work. She said, Robert, I don't care what kind of day you're having. When you're working for someone else, the moment you start your job, you have an attitude of gratitude. You put a smile on your face, even if you're having the worst day ever. You make sure you don't bring that into the workplace. And on that note, how many of you have ever noticed that one person with a negative attitude can infect the rest of an office, the rest of a business, because one person's in a bad mood? When my wife and I had our Domino's pizzas, our rule when we'd interview someone is, as we're sitting in the interview, we'd say, we want you to know that we have a rule here that while you're at work, you have fun. Because there's going to be times when we're making, in a dinner rush, where we're making 100 or more pizzas every single hour from scratch. It's going to get stressful. And so if we're all frustrated, we're all not having a good time, it's going to compound. And the way our rule would work, and we'd be very upfront, is if we sense that you're in a bad mood and it's impacting the rest of the staff, we're going to send you home. If it happens more than a couple times, we're going to sit down and discuss your future with us. Because that, to me, having that attitude of gratefulness, when I'm learning from mentors, I'm like, please, I'm an open book. Teach me. I'm here. And that's one of the biggest ways of my success, is because I will make sure that I appreciate everything that is taught to me, given to me. Because even if it's a lesson that didn't work, I'm grateful for not the mistake, the learning curve that comes from it. So your attitude, if you want to be vital in anything, and especially, look, in real estate, maybe you're doing a deal with someone where you're trying to close the deal and get the contract so that you can turn around and flip it before you even take possession. And if you're coming in with the energy and the attitude of, oh my goodness, I hope this works. What if something goes wrong? I don't know if you're going to input that energy into the whole deal. And then you're going to get more stressed. But if you come in with an attitude of confidence, you know what? I've been learning. I've been doing the work. I've got this. Watch what that does. Watch what that attracts into your life. So attitude. And then the L, my favorite letter of all of this word vital, loyal. Loyal. Giving firm and constant support and allegiance. One of the biggest mistakes I see people make is they end up not sticking with a path that they've chosen. Not being loyal. Like, I've been accused of being too loyal. And the reason this is important to me is because, to me, the most important person that I believe you should be loyal to is the person you see in the mirror when you look in it. Loyal to your dreams, loyal to your goals, loyal to your happiness, loyal to what you truly want to achieve in your life. Because we often give up on ourselves. And so, meaning, instead of saying, hey, I'm going to do real estate if it works, well, the moment you run into a little speed bump, you're going to be out of real estate. You're going to want to do something else. So you make a commitment to yourself that, you know what, I'm doing this because, and this comes back to having a big why. Why do you want to do real estate? Why do you want to learn it? Because I guarantee you, real estate investing is not easy. It takes work. Now, it's simple because there's systems in place that if you do it, but you've still got to put the work in, ladies and gentlemen, like anything in success. And so if you're not loyal to staying to your commitments, how do you ever expect that you're going to be able to have and maintain success? So it starts with you having that loyalty to you yourself, loyal to that I'm going to do my studying. You know, in school, I hated studying as a kid. I hated school. In the beginning, I liked it, but when I got into, 7, 8, 9, grade 10, grade 11, I lost interest in school, and I hated studying. So I didn't study a lot, and I barely passed. I passed with like 51% to graduate. But when I decided I wanted to be a trainer, I teach major courses, 16 major multi-day courses. Every binder is about this thick, 200-300 pages or more. And to be able to teach all of the courses, one of the things required was a study habit like crazy. And so I had to make sure I stayed loyal to my commitment, because I knew to be on stage, my number one goal is, what is the audience going to get out of it? What position and am I ready to deliver and be at the top of my game so they get the most out of the training? And to do that, I had to make sure I knew my stuff. I knew my material. And that took a lot of studying. And so I had to be loyal to my commitment. And that's why I get so passionate about loyal, is because it's not always loyal to other people. It starts with you. You cannot give what you do not have. So if you can't even be loyal to yourself, how do you expect you're going to be loyal to anybody else? You're going to find a reason to leave. You're going to find a reason not to carry through. And you're going to jump onto the next thing and then get frustrated when that doesn't work. And you jump to the next thing and you get frustrated when that doesn't work. So this is how you become vital, ladies and gentlemen. In your real estate investing, there's actually 5 areas in your life. You've got mental, emotional, spiritual, physical, and financial. Those are the 5 key areas that you can utilize everything I've taught you in this short time together tonight. Those are the 5 things that what works in one area works in every other area of your life. Don't just think that what applies to money doesn't apply to happiness, doesn't apply to your relationships, doesn't apply to your spiritual way of being. It all ties together, because I believe we're holistic beings. Amazing. So I hope that helped. I hope you learned something. And if you have questions, I have a little bit of time. I'm more than happy to assist in any way I can.
Let me ask you 2 quick questions. I know you're associating with many millionaires and billionaires. You take a flight in their private jet. Now, tell us, what is the difference between, I call it not rich or not millionaire or billionaire, and them? What is the major difference you can see in their attitude? How do you compare them?
They're just everyday people. The biggest divider that I see is our perspective of where we position someone in our mind. So as an example, when I first started mentoring from T. Harv Eker, I had him up on such a high pedestal, thinking I could never do that because I don't have the knowledge he has. I don't have the wealth he has. And it had nothing to do with him. It was all to do with me. But as I got to know him, all of a sudden, first of all, I noticed, hey, we're the same height. We're both 5'6". He just has more hair, so he looks a little taller than me, but we're the same height. And when we sit down and have a meal together, there was no arrogance or air. We were just two people having a conversation. The moment I took my perspective out and just said, I'm me, he's him, let's have a conversation. And that's what causes, like, you think of celebrity, someone will come in up to them and they're like, oh my goodness, oh my goodness, oh my goodness, you're amazing. Well, of course that person's going to take that energy on and it's going to reflect back. But one of the reasons I've been able to connect with so many amazing millionaires and multi-billionaires is because when I meet them in green rooms or I meet them at a table, I'm me. And either they like me or they don't. And I have no control over it. Because the moment I try to make them like me, that puts up a different energy, if that makes sense. So to kind of answer your question, I don't see any difference except for habits and mindset from very successful people from unsuccessful people. Otherwise, we're pretty much the same.
Excellent. Answer this question. What is the scariest memory or experience that you come across? You're working in this field for 18 years, you mentioned. Tell us about one of your scariest experiences.
Oh, man. There's been a few. There's been a few. There's been, first time I ever got on stage, terrified. And just like first time I imagine when someone's doing a real estate investment, terrified. But if I was to pick one, because I do very extreme breakthrough exercises. Anytime someone gets hurt, one of my specialties is I've put thousands of people across hot firewalks, and where the cold have to be 1,200 to 1,700 degrees Fahrenheit, and I put them across a 36-foot walk. I'm always, when we are getting ready and close to it, I get very nervous, very freaked out, and I have to calm myself. I have to center myself, because I know if I have a nervous energy, I'm going to pass that on to all the people that are walking, and they're going to burn their feet. I've seen people have third-degree burns to the bottom of their feet. Thank goodness, knock on wood, 99.9% of my students only ever get maybe a little blister from doing it, because that's how powerful mind is. So I always get nervous before I set a context with a room of people to walk, that I've got to check myself to make sure I'm in the right energy to have them walk in the right energy. So I'd say that's probably one of the places I do get nervous even today as a trainer, even 18 years in.
All right, that's great. Now I have another question. What do you suggest to our real estate investor as the next step? What should they do?
Well, if they haven't started, just get started. There's three powerful things I believe in: learn, do, teach. So meaning, learn like you said, take the action, learn, start getting them understanding, find a mentor, find someone to model, but then do, get in the game. The biggest mistake most people make, and why things don't turn out the way they'd like them to, is they never actually take action. They don't actually do an investment. They're so afraid, they're terrified. So you've got to get in the game. And then as you start doing that, you make corrections. There's three questions I always ask with anything I do: what worked, what didn't work, what can I do different? And so you do your first investment, do a little checklist. This worked, this worked, this worked. I followed my mentor's advice. I did this right. I did this right. Then be willing to sit there and not be critical on yourself. This has no emotion to it. Just, what are the facts? What did not work? Well, I missed this step, or I didn't do this. I didn't do this. Okay, great. Now, next time, what am I going to do different? And you come up with a new plan. Maybe you circle back with your mentor to say, here's what worked for me. Here's what didn't. Here's what I'm thinking to do next time different. What do you recommend? And then take that action again. And then as you start to have some success, because learning it will ingrain it in one part of your mind. Doing it activates a whole different wavelength of learning in your mind. But then to really take the teachings and make them even deeper, teach. Teach someone. Now, this one's a tricky one, because if you're just beginning, you're not going to teach a seasoned investor how to do it. You be authentic and honest with where you're at. So if you're just starting, you can maybe teach someone else how to get over the fear that you got through to make your first deal. And you be upfront with them. I'm fairly new. but I believe I have some value to give, because the moment you teach it, you end up getting it on a whole new level. When I was a trainer, and I'll use this as an example, one of the first things I got to do is I got to start teaching other trainers. And 6 times a year, I was running a 5-day training program where I taught other trainers to train in the style that we used, experiential. Every time I taught another one of these courses 6 times a year, my level of expertise went way up. So if you want to accelerate how you do well in real estate, learn, start taking the action, make correction, but take action, correction, action. And then once you've got a little bit of success and confidence, start teaching others what you've been doing, and watch how quickly that'll take you to another level.
Excellent. You can reach Rob, correct me, Rob, if this number is correct, is 1-866-960-9781. Is that your number?
Oh, I don't even know if that toll free we have it going anymore. So I would say not. Easiest way to reach out to me is through my Facebook fan page.
Okay.
Just look for Robert Riopel. You'll see Robert Riopel fan page, and my website, successlefaclue.com. I saw you had it up earlier on when you're introducing me. Those are the greatest ways. And you can private message me on Facebook. I respond when people message me. I love to connect and help people, and I love to be of service in any way I can. So those are the easiest ways to get in touch.
Once again, what is your Facebook address?
Just my name. Put Robert Riopel in, and you'll see my fan page come up. I can't accept any more friends on my private page, but my fan page, they can like it and they can follow me. They can message me, and I'll get the messages.
Excellent. Robert, it was such a pleasure to have you over here. There are a lot of material that you cover. You know what? I have to call you back again and bring you up again for another session. There's an ocean of information and knowledge and experience that we want to dig into and use it. You help many, many people to move from where they were to, I would say, flying high. And I really appreciate your time and coming and helping us here. And everyone, thank you again for joining us at this webinar, Wednesday webinar. My name again is Ashton Ekbatani, and good to have you back next time. All the best. Thank you.
My pleasure.